without further ado, now here's Michele.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Amber. So I'm Michele Brown. For those of you who don't know me, I am a certified executive career and business coach. I've been doing this for 15 years. This is my purpose and my passion. I get an opportunity with my company, Into Action Coaching, to partner with professionals just like you guys who are really eager to what we call gain some customized polishing. Have you do what you do better and more effectively and more efficiently. Our primary clients are organizations, although we do some individualized coaching, but it's all around helping organizations find the right people that are a fit to their organization and making sure that the values and the mission of both the company and the individual are aligned. That's when we have our purpose and our passion. So we are, I so look forward to Wednesdays, you have no idea. You're going to continue to see this bright smile on my face because even though we are doing social distancing, every Wednesday, Amber and I get a chance to see your bright faces. So we're so grateful that you're willing to spend this 1 hour with me. Thank you, Tessie. All right. So should I jump right in? Is there anything else we need to do as a precursor?
Well, I'll just welcome for the people who are just joining us, welcome. And you can, if you've taken the assessment beforehand, you can put your style in the chat just so we can see what your style is. If you have not taken the assessment, don't worry, you can take it afterwards, take notes. Michelle's gonna go over the 4 styles so you can kind of guess what you are and listen based on that and then go afterwards and actually take the assessment. All right, so now we can get started.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so to set the groundwork, as Amber mentioned, your particular report really speaks to what your style is, your work from home style is. And to give you context, I'm going to share a bit of a PowerPoint. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that now so that you all have an idea. Can everybody see the work from home page? Okay, thank you, Louis. I love it. All right. All right, so how many of you, maybe by show of hands, have done a DISC, D-I-S-C assessment? Okay, so a few of you are. All right, so this working from home is a variation of DISC. And briefly, what DISC is an acronym that stands for 4 dimensions of our behavior. And we're all multidimensional, but for the most part, one of those, either the D, the I, the S, or the C, really kind of indicate what our behavioral style is. So your working from home report is a brief iteration of DISC, but it's specifically intended to help give you insights to how to work effectively from home. Because, for those of you who may not be used to working remotely, we may be in uncharted, unfamiliar territories. And, being available for video conferencing and conference calls, if any of you are parents and have to multitask in terms of getting your work deliverables done in addition to homeschooling your kid, you could be completely overwhelmed. So our hope today is to give you a glimpse to how to manage your time effectively. So giving you proper context, and especially for many of us on the call who are leaders, actually, I take that back, we're all leaders, because the one thing I want to underscore is that leadership is a behavior. It has nothing to do with our position or our level within an organization. We're all leaders. We're all looking to influence others to our point of view, our way of thinking, and really, make impacts with the work that we do. So this illustration helps you see how behaviors, if you kind of see it here, is above the surface. This working from home / DISC report gives yourself as well as others a glimpse into what your observable behavior is. There are other aspects of who we are, what we value here, and what our emotional intelligence might be. That's beneath the surface. Those characteristics or those behaviors, for the most part, aren't really as noticeable. So let me ask this, because I want to make this as interactive as I possibly can and still fit this all in within our 45 minutes or so, because we want to leave some room. So in the chat, think of one word that for you describes what leadership is. When you think about leadership, put in the chat one word, and Amber, I'll look for you to read off just a few of them, maybe 3 or 4 or 5.
Okay. All right. So the first one that came in is serving.
Okay.
Service. Inspiring, knowledgeable, guidance, authenticity, motivation. Oh, they're coming. Okay, I'm gonna just give a couple more. Selflessness, persuasive, passion, listener. These are good, guys. Yeah.
Okay. So this is perfect. I mean, we are not only recording this, but we will be making available, you know, the key takeaways. And one of the reasons why, even in a lot of the workshops that Amber and I do around leadership, it's important that we look at what those characteristics or those behaviors are in a very broad context, because that is who we want to be, right? We want to not aspire to do those things, but actually demonstrate authenticity and servant leadership, and all the things that are going to enable us to work harmoniously and collaboratively with others. All right, so as we dive into the working from home report, what is going to be reflective are 4 dimensions or 4 different aspects of DISC. So did we ask the question, Amber, to kind of take a survey to who's direct, who may be outgoing? Can we do that briefly so we can kind of get a litmus test?
Yeah, we got, so I'll read some of the answers in the chat. I did set up the poll beforehand, but it didn't save. So we're doing it the old fashioned way and just reading it in the chat. So we have reflective, we have,
I'm gonna write this
2
down.
reflectives so far. I'll be the poll taker.
Okay.
Well, the 2 people who've answered so far have said reflective. Is there anyone else? If there's anyone else who answered and I'm not seeing your answer, please put it in the chat. Okay, we got another direct, outgoing, two outgoings. Okay, wait, hold on. A few of them are coming in. Okay. Oh, that's so interesting. It's pretty even. We've got looks like we've got about 5 reflectives, 4 outgoings, 4 direct or 3 directs, and a couple of
Predictables?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. This is good. All right. So what you're seeing here in this illustration is a composite that helps us understand where we fit in, if you're a direct and outgoing, a predictable or reflective. So there are 2 questions that you can contemplate about yourself or potentially even about other people that with about a 60 to 70% accuracy rate, you can begin to determine what their style is without the benefit of the assessment. And the 2 questions are you or they reserved or extroverted? The second question is, are you or are they task or people oriented? So when extrovert, which is, you know, kind of outgoing, gregarious, charismatic, intersects task, which is, you know, people who like to write lists and are really kind of focused in on, again, tasks and deliverables, those are our direct individuals. Where extrovert intersects people, no brainer. These are our outgoing, charismatic individuals. Why? Because they're outgoing, they like people, and you know, they may preference working with people as opposed to just the task at hand. Where reserved, or another term is introverted, intersects people, those are sort of your predictable. And then where reserved or introverted intersects task, those are more of your reflective people. So with your, I think, first page of your report, it's going to identify which of these four you are, right? So for our directs, you are communicators that are ambitious and you're forceful, you're decisive, you're strong-willed, you're independent, and you're goal-oriented. For our outgoing individuals, you are magnetic and enthusiastic, friendly, demonstrative, which is another way of saying, as you can, well, we're gonna have you guess what Amber and I are. You may talk with your hand, you may have facial expressions that do not enable you to be a good poker player because you wear your emotions, you know, on your sleeve, and you're conversational. Our predictable, these are communicators who are patient and reliable and steady and relaxed. And then our reflective individuals are cooperative and low-key, modest and mild. Now, to avoid profiling, this is not to judge us or put us, quote unquote, in a box, because to some extent, we are any or all four of these at any point in time. But this work from home report is really just giving you, by nature of how you answered the questions in the survey, is giving you what they call your core behavioral style or your dominant behavioral style, because these other three may come into play on a case-by-case or situation-by-situation basis, okay? The other point that I want to make is the last thing that we want to do, either about ourselves or about others, especially as we are working within a team, is we don't want to judge or evaluate anyone else's behavior. They're just, you know, this whole communication it's neutral. There's no right or wrong, good or bad way. It's just the way we're showing up, okay? So I want to neutralize your takeaway from this. When someone is, you know, being direct and they may not be outgoing, that's just the way they're showing up. That's just their behavioral style. Okay. Now, again, your reports are so customized and so individual, you're only going to have, I think it's on page, starting at page 3, it's going to now give you a bit of description around what your style is. So I'm going to go over them one by one so that if it's alternative to what you are, it's giving you a sense of what some of the other styles are. So for our direct people, these are the tips and the techniques that you want to practice in order to make working from home and collaborating with others, again, more effective and more efficient. So for our direct people, you want to put your daily plan in writing, and the do's and checklists will help you stay on track because, again, you are more task-oriented. Now, this is going to come pretty natural for you. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but what's important is if a member of your team may not necessarily be direct, there's going to be the potential of making sure that you're not expecting them to organize their day in the way that you organize your day. This is what's optimal for you in working from home. You want to break down your larger assignments into smaller tasks so you can either delegate or cross off your list quickly. You want to stay focused during virtual meetings by listening closely to your peers, and they may even be direct reports, and don't get distracted by other tasks. The tendency that directs have, because they are multitaskers, is if you're on, for example, a 1 hour or even a longer video conference and someone else is speaking or someone else potentially is facilitating the meeting, directs may have a tendency to kind of tune off. And while the other person is leading the video conference, you know, you're checking emails, you're, you know, looking at a report, or you're doing something else. And what you want to do is to stay focused, not necessarily turn your video cam off. You want to really stay in that listening mode. Communicating virtually removes some of the visual cues that we have when we're working in person. So use verbiage that creates a picture or appropriate tone in your communication. So again, it's you know, when we're communicating in writing. I was having a conversation recently with a colleague, and she was contemplating how to respond to a situation. And what we were talking about is, the right emotional charge when you're sending a written communication, because you may not necessarily have the ability to convey frustration or disappointment or downright, anger in an appropriate way. So you want to make sure that your written communication, is properly worded.
Mm-hmm. Michele?
Yes.
I just want to let you know, Monica has a question. And so whenever you're ready to take a question on direct, we can go ahead and address Monica's question.
By all means, Monica, stop me.
Monica, you can unmute yourself and ask the question or put it in the chat if you're not able to unmute, or I can unmute you also. Okay, Monica, you're unmuted. Do you want to ask your question? Oh, she's muted again. Okay. All right, we'll keep going and you can put it in the chat. Maybe that was a mistake.
Okay.
Thanks, Michele.
Yeah, and Amber, I'll be sure, because I was so focused in on the slide, I wasn't paying attention to your cues that you had a question that you wanted to interrupt me. So I'll do a better job on that. All right, so maintain your focus on the task. If you need to take a break, take short breaks and then get back to it. Set scheduled time to socialize after completing tasks. The one thing about directs, because they are so motivated and task oriented, is sometimes it's, you're kind of you're driving into, got to get this done. And when you're working from home, where you may obviously not have as many distractions. I mean, you may if you've got, kids and a spouse or a partner, but it's taking some intermittent breaks in order to, sort of give yourself time to kind of breathe and maybe switch from one task to another. Create a virtual coffee and catch up with professionals as a social circle, or even within your team. This is something that I've told a lot of clients that I'm currently coaching, is to, as part of your weekly video conference, they don't always have to have an intention around business. It can be, let's have lunch together. And you're taking a break throughout the course of the day. For whoever wants to call in on a Zoom, take a half an hour and literally you're just dining with one another, since you're not able to be in the office. Review your notes before the end of a meeting to make sure that you have all the information you need. I mean, this is honestly sort of meeting 101, making sure that with a lot of the stuff that may be covered in a meeting, or obviously a virtual meeting at this point, that you are taking some copious notes, and even making sure that with whatever you may be accountable for, you've captured it correctly. So let me pause. Was there a question that either Monica wanted to verbalize, or anyone else for that matter, around direct?
I don't have any other questions in the chat. Will the PowerPoint be offered at the end? We don't offer the PowerPoints, but we do offer the replays, Anupa. So you will be able to view the replay. And if there's something specific that you need from the PowerPoint, you can request it, and we'd be happy to see if we can get that to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but your report, when you do the report, also the report has a lot of this information in it as well. So refer back to your report.
Yeah. All right, so again, this is for the outgoings. These are for our charismatic, friendly individuals. When comments or ideas, keep comments or ideas concise on video conference calls to allow others to ask clarifying questions. The one challenge, or I should say opportunity, that outgoings have is, because they are conversationalists and they are very communicative, they may oftentimes talk more than they listen. So to be effective working from home, as well as, when you're on your video calls or conference calls, is to, I call it, listen in double proportion to your one mouth. So it's making sure that you're pretty succinct in what you need to say, because outgoings have a tendency to just be very sort of verbose. Maintain your focus on the task. If you need to take a break, take short-term breaks. I mean, this kind of is very similar to the directs. Make sure you keep track of what you need to accomplish during the day, and don't forget to budget time for short, energizing breaks. Now, another opportunity for outgoings. A lot of times outgoings are, what's the word? They are compromised in terms of time management because they can get so engrossed in an activity that they may lose track of time. So it's important for them to sort of borrow what innately is a strength of tasks or direct, which is at the beginning of your day, come up with what you want to accomplish in order of priority if necessary, and within a reasonable amount of time, and then look to, stay focused on those tasks throughout the course of the day so time does not necessarily get away from you. Review your notes before the end of a meeting to make sure you have all the information you need. I think that was already expressed in directs. Working virtually means less opportunities to clarify, so attempt to be more detail-oriented than you would in person, and put things in writing. Because outgoings are really excellent at conversation and sort of interacting with people when you're working from home and you don't necessarily have the ability to interact, it's okay to make sure that perhaps your written communication is more frequent without overwhelming people with emails. Be prepared to back up your ideas with a few facts. Don't rely on intuition. Call a colleague to bounce off ideas before making a decision. That really speaks to, I think it's kind of effective communication skills, in the sense that as an outgoing, less is more, meaning when you're sending even written communication, again, as it states earlier, be as concise as you possibly can. And don't always rely on I feel or I think when you're looking to, sell someone on your point of view or your way of thinking. You may want to benefit from having facts in order to validate what it is that you want to express. And then lastly, design a routine and schedule for working remotely. Again, because outgoings may have a tendency to not manage their time effectively. So you really want to leverage your calendar as a way to sort of put tasks on your calendar by identifying what amount of time you want to delegate to a particular task or a project and what time of the day, so that things don't sort of blend together. So let me pause and ask if anyone has any questions so far about outgoing, or even any comments if you are an outgoing.
I don't see any questions coming up just yet, but at some point we can also ask about if you work with direct or outgoing, and if you've noticed that you have any challenges with working with direct or outgoing people. And as we go through the other two as well, if you want to express any challenges or any questions that you have in working with people of that style, then we'd be happy to address those as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna, as best I can, a lot of this is pretty fundamental, and we're right now at 1 o'clock, we're at the top of the hour. If we have enough time, and I'm sure Amber will help me monitor, we'd be more than happy to even spend, 10 minutes at the back of this to either coach someone individually or certainly open up the call again to address challenges. We want this to be very relevant and experiential, so that you're not just, listening to a debrief, but you're able to have it be applicable to what you're going through. All right, so these are our predictables. So maintain your close professional relationships by scheduling regular online meetings or calls just to check in and support each other. The wonderful thing about predictables are they are the glue oftentimes that keeps teams focused. My niece Danielle is a predictable, and one of the things when she was working in the office, and we were obviously not in the pandemic, she was the one who would be scheduling the Christmas parties and the birthday celebrations, right? So even though we're not in an office environment and we may not be able to kind of have those celebrations, the predictables can be the representative of the team to either on behalf, if you happen to be the manager, that's fine, or if you're just a peer, you're reaching out to your colleagues, checking in on them, providing them support. You know, this too is a great way of demonstrating your leadership. And it's, again, the care and feeding of our team members is really what it's all about. So this is really one of the primary characteristics that predictables have. And it's easy to get distracted or be tempted to log more hours from a remote location, you know, if you're in a sort of a support position. But remember to manage your own energy and to take some time for yourself. Because predictors are people-oriented, if you remember, they're kind of on the lower left quadrant, they tend to get a lot of energy from wanting to support and help others. And oftentimes they may deplete their own energy because they're giving themselves away as opposed to providing a reservoir of energy for themselves. So again, it's really about balance. And we're not only just talking about within the context of how you're working remotely with your team, it's how do you as a predictable make sure that with your partner home and your kids, if you are a parent, how you are finding time going into, if you have an office or some quiet place in your home that gives you a chance to kind of recharge your own batteries. Make sure you add regular breaks. This is kind of a great segue into your normal daily routine. Don't forget to stand up and move regularly throughout the day. I don't know about you. I mean, well, I don't want to give it away. I almost did. But one of the things that I tend to practice, because I've always, since I started the business 15 years ago, I work remotely. You know, I could sit in my computer, whether I'm on a conference call, running a webinar, or just working on administrative tasks. I could sit here for hours on end. And by the time I, you know, get up to take a break or take my dog for a walk, I realize my back is stiff and I realize I've become too sedentary. So while we are working remotely from home, it is essential for us to take intermittent breaks, to get up, walk around when it's nice outside, go take a nice walk, give yourself excuse to just, you know, move, keep the body going. Set goals that push you, but still comfortable for your work week. So don't, you know, overload yourself. Share them with your manager or someone on your team to make sure that they are accurate and reasonable. This is not just indicative of the predictables. I think this is a good practice across the board. Working remotely may oftentimes have us feel that we are working in a silo. So, you know, if you don't have regularly scheduled check-ins with the person that you report into, or if you are the manager, people who report into you, this is something as coaches we highly recommend that they not just be drive-bys, but that you have scheduled one-on-one meetings as well as collective team meetings or staff meetings. Again, to make sure that people are on the same page and well-informed about, you know, what the statuses of projects may be, etc. Don't let your assumptions fill in gaps. Have a quick chat to seek clarity before progressing on a project. I mean, these are somewhat no-brainers, but we're just kind of underscoring. Take more notes or document more thoroughly than you might normally. Again, this whole working remotely has us leveraging and picking up new tools in our toolkit because we may not have the boss or direct report in a cubicle or in an office down the hall. You know, we have to rely more on phone calls as well as email communication, texts, team, you know, whatever the applications are that you're using. So we're going to be relying a lot more on making sure that we are not operating in a silo and that whatever it is that we're doing is on track, and those frequent check-ins are critical. Take more notes on documents more thoroughly than you normally would. Again, a no-brainer. And working virtually means less opportunities to clarify. So attempt to be more detail-oriented than you would be in person and put those things in writing to share, again, with your team or your manager. I'm gonna pause for a minute. Any questions, comments? Everybody's so quiet. We want some
Yeah, so no,
interaction.
no, there's some in here. So one, Vanessa says that you're absolutely, you get her, that you're talking to her. I think she commented during the outgoing portion, and says that I absolutely need to be mindful of creating a schedule to work so that I'm not racing to complete goals. Rory, I believe, may have been commenting on the direct, if I would guess, but she says that some things come out blunt and therefore misunderstood, communicated, or maybe she meant miscommunicated with the person who's not that style, or the same style. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. Hmm.
Yes. No. Who was that that just made reference to that?
That was Rory.
Rory. That's a really good point, Rory. And this goes for any of our styles, and I may have neglected to point this out. Because this is indicative of what our dominant or core style is, the one thing about interacting with others and being a leader is no one style fits all, right? So if you are a direct and you may have a reflective or any of the other three characteristics, as part of your team, because that's really where diversity is born, you want to begin to the best of your ability, understand how they work effectively. And it's about, to some extent, adapting our style to meet them, right? So yes, it's common courtesy to make sure that our communication, either verbally or in written form, is expressed with tact and diplomacy. So again, referencing the conversation I had with a friend and a colleague, never send a communication or call someone in the heat of the moment when your emotional charge is not under control. Write an email, even in the fervor of what you're feeling, but hang tight, give yourself an hour or so, maybe even give yourself a day to reread it before you want to pick up the phone and kind of respond to whether it's, a coworker or a client or even a vendor in the heat of the moment. Check your emotional charge again, and look to make sure that, the way we come across is representative of what we want our brand to represent. All right, reflective. So don't shy away from challenging assignments. Simply ask for help if you need it. Reflectives, again, are the upper left quadrant. Now, again, this is not to profile who they may be, but they're going to be more introverted. So their tendency is to take in, I don't know, given an example, they may be asked to work on a project, and yet oftentimes they may avoid either saying no, or I don't have time, or try to renegotiate what the assignment is, or they may walk away with limited clarification as to, well, when is that due? And what exactly are you expecting of me or this project, right? So again, making sure that these details are specified and clear is really key. Set goals that challenge your abilities and set progress checkpoints with an accountability partner. This is another good thing to think about when you're working remotely. And again, it's not just for the reflectives, it's by and large what we could be doing with those on our team. And that is, again, have someone who you can bounce things off of, and making sure that they can hold you accountable for the by-whens, and making sure that, again, the quality of whatever the work or task or project is on par. Don't let others invade your remote workspace and time. Set clear boundaries with friends, family, and even pets to avoid possible procrastination on tough challenges. One of the things that Amber and I, because we speak to one another, certainly 3 times throughout the course of the day, of the week, and then sometimes intermittently. And she's got, a dog and a husband and 2 kids at home. And she really has mastered her ability when her kids are coming in and, want to ask a question. She has been masterful in making sure that they understand, mommy's working right now. I'll get back to you in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or in an hour Why don't you go do some things? So again, we have to manage our time, and people aren't necessarily, especially our little ones that may not necessarily understand, but even colleagues and our bosses may be calling us, expecting us to be, on call, but it's making sure that we're establishing the right boundaries, but communicating what those boundaries are so that people know how to respect our time, because if we don't respect our time, then obviously people won't.
Michelle, just to tag in there for a sec, for you parents on the call, just to expand on that point about the children, what I do with my kids is I give them a time to look forward to in the day when they will have my undivided attention. And so then that way I don't feel guilty with the boundary that I've set within my working time. And I encourage them to look at the clock as well. Is this the time for asking questions? What's our time? Okay, so come back in 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it was that I said, which really encourages them to learn on their own how to take care of the issues that they've been having, and lets them look forward to, because I'll say, remember, we're going to the park later today, or, that thing to look forward to, so that I can create the space that I need to be productive. We have a question, or we have a comment. Stephanie says, boom, you nailed it. Leadership adaptability to meet team communication styles is crucial, and also can be one of the most challenging aspects of leadership. And then she does the happy dance, which I'm going to guess that Stephanie is outgoing based on the happy dance at the end.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Great validation there. I'm
going to laugh at myself for just a second. My friend has called me out and said that my friends are brutally sacrificed during the week. And I'll just address that. There is this need for being at home, of having to reset our boundaries, and based on homeschooling, just to encourage other folks that are managing a lot at once, we do have to define a new normal for ourselves in order to be productive. It doesn't look the same. We have to be flexible and willing to change some things in order to get either the same or better results that we were getting before. So I encourage your flexibility, and I encourage your compassion for your friends who are less available.
There you go. There you go. Right, right. I'm here at the fourth bullet. Identify the time of day that you feel at your best to complete challenging or high impact tasks in that window of time. So this is what I want to underscore. We all have what they call chrono time. Chrono time is the time of day, either early, midday, or evening, where we're experiencing the most energy. I happen to be nocturnal. So my chrono time is late at night. Even though I may start my day at 8:30 and kind of end it officially at 6:30, when it comes to a proposal that I have to write or a training that I have to deliver, I will put that task at the end of the day, believe it or not, because that is when I feel that I can concentrate and I have a surge of energy. If your chrono time is the morning and you like getting up at 5:30 or 6:30, that's the time to, again, when you're thinking about prioritizing tasks that may require like uber focus and attention, recognize what your chrono time is and look to organize your day so that those things can be done as best they can in those segments. You may be distracted and you may, have other things competing for your time, but again, working from home, we have a bit more control over our time than we might have when we were going to an office every day. So again, it's working with your chrono time. It's working with where your energy is going to fuel you and not deplete you. And the other thing too is it's also, I think, relevant for you to communicate to your manager, to your peers, and if you're a manager of others, what the best time of day is for things, so that, again, people can understand how best to work with you and where they can manage their own expectations in terms of when they can get something from you. Was that something you wanted to say, Amber, or you're good? You're just nodding?
No. Yeah, no, I'm just letting, I left you a little message in there to let you know there are 13 minutes left, just to leave time for questions at the end if you like.
You got it.
But no.
Okay, all right. I'll speedily get through these remaining 3 points. Maintain your focus on the task. If you need to take a break, take short-term breaks so that you can sort of get back to it. I think we've been hearing a bit of that theme sprinkled in with the other 3 dimensions. Make sure you keep on track with what you need to accomplish during the day, and don't forget to budget time for short, energizing breaks, just so that you are not sort of burnt out. Keep comments or ideas concise on video or conference calls to allow others to ask clarifying questions. Again, yeah, because reflective people are more introverted, but it's I think just good common sense and courtesy to make sure that we are concise with what we communicate. So I'm going to pause because yeah, we are a little past quarter past the hour. Let me. Well, I'm going to ask a fun question. With what some of you who have been on our calls in the past, what do you think is Amber's core behavioral style? Write it in the chat.
Michelle, can you go back to slide 4 so we can see that slide as we answer?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And we can, you know, I can, if you want to come out of the chat, because we're in the discussion time, you guys can unmute yourselves. Yeah, this is discussion time, so we can all just chat. We've got Rory said outgoing, and Lewis said outgoing. Stephanie says reflective, maybe. Aria says outgoing, direct, reflective and predictable, direct, predictably outgoing. Now that actually leads me to a question. Okay, so I'll say my type. It is outgoing. As I talk with my hands, isn't that typical of me as an outgoing type? However, to Susan's point, Michele, what I know our results give us one answer or the other, but what about if we are a bit of a hybrid between 2 different types?
Well, we're going to be a hybrid of all 4, right? Because we are multidimensional. So what this report is indicating based on how you answer the question, and for Amber, I can attest she's outgoing, right? So that is her, what they call her core behavioral style. That is most prominent out of all of the other 4. But all of the others, the direct, the reflective, the predictable, come into play on a case-by-case, situation-by-situation basis. All right? So yes, we are going to be, to some extent, any of these others, but you are by far, you know, predominantly outgoing. So what's your guess, guys, about what style I am? This will be interesting.
Lewis says you're outgoingly direct. Rory guesses direct. Direct, reflective, predictable.
Wow.
Any more, guys? Any more guesses? Most of the guesses are for direct. We have a couple reflectable, direct and predictable.
Wow, spot on, people. You guys are learning how to people read. Absolutely, I'm direct. I don't know, what is it that you were able to pick up? Well, certainly if you have witnessed our weeklies over time, you know, you're getting a sense of who Amber and I are, but definitely I'm an extrovert, but I'm pretty task oriented. So yeah, spot on. Thank you guys for that feedback. All right.
So we have a question from Lamanda. Lamanda, I'm not sure if you were on when Michele gave the outgoing read, but she's asking if you have some advice for outgoings to help them get out of their own way. So if you could go back to that slide, maybe. So she.
Yeah. So Lamanda, unmute yourself.
I was present. Please don't regurgitate on my behalf. I was just actually asking for the one, like the pinnacle, top of the, you know, mountain piece of advice from you personally for outgoings.
Yeah, no, that's what I want to give you. So my clarifying question to you is, when you make reference to getting out of your own way, what do you mean?
I think some of the outgoing behavior is like being verbose, not staying focused for long periods of time, just kind of tra la 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 la, because we are extroverted and we want to make people happy.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. All right. So my coaching to you would be, first off, I would never say to you or anyone else, because you're just a dear friend, that you're getting in your way. That is sort of the DNA of who you are, right? So what I'm hearing you say is, how do I develop a different muscle so that experiences are getting kind of caught up in the moment don't detract from my ability to sort of stay focused? So my coaching to you, and actually it's not even coaching, it's more advice, is when it comes to tasks, create a real relationship with your calendar. As best you can with whatever the task, project, activity is, put it on your calendar and look to commit and dedicate the time that you've allocated to kind of focus in. And it's going to be potentially a discipline of, even when your mind goes, you know what, I can do something else. Let me make a phone call. No, stay accountable to yourself. It's going to take discipline, but it's going to start with allocating the time on your calendar, but then the internal commitment and dedication is be accountable and be a woman of integrity that says, I'm allowing myself this amount of time. I mean, that's the internal drive. When it comes to individuals or how you may interact with other people, I without a specific example, and I won't put you on the spot for that, I would, I don't know how best to answer that succinctly. Because I think, knowing you as I do, your gracious, gregarious way of interacting with people is one of the best characteristics of you. So I don't know that I would offer any other alternative way of being, because that's what makes people want to be around you. Hopefully that answers your question in probably a very long-winded way.
Thank you. I heart Michele. So make love to my calendar, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yes, you're welcome. We are, 5 minutes before the end? Is there anyone else that has a question or a comment or may need some speed coaching?
Don't see anyone using the chat. If you are raising your hand, we can't see you all. Oh, we have Maya. Okay. Maya asked how to work on the guilt of setting up space.
How to work on the guilt of what?
Setting up space. And I'm guessing that means you're meaning setting up space for working to be productive, or setting boundaries, creating boundaries, Maya. Is that?
Yeah, setting boundaries when expectations are high. Yeah, how to work on the guilt of having to say no to a partner because I'm home. And so it's like, oh, you're with me, right? Okay. I'm like, no, I'm not. So yeah, speed coaching would be wonderful.
Yeah, all right. So I'll distill it down as best I can. All right. So Maya, you are what, outgoing?
It's strange because it's reflective, outgoing.
Okay.
It really depends.
Knowing you the way that I do, you are definitely a servant leader in the sense that you get a real sense of passion for wanting to help people. And with that being such a predominant characteristic, the tendency to give yourself away is a stronger tendency than to say no. Okay. So the contrast to that, and that is getting comfortable with being unpopular. Okay? I'm going to distill it down. It's always an inside job, ladies and gentlemen. The inside job means if I'm going to look to try to find a balance, given what Maya just made reference to learn how to say no when my tendency is to say yes and to give, what you're then grappling with is, I call it like recovery and withdrawal. Because when we say no to someone, or I can't do it now, or even when we have to renegotiate, there's a part of us that feels guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we want to acquiesce and say yes, so we can hopefully, please that other person. But what in essence we're doing is we're starving a part of ourselves. So when we can get comfortable with not winning the popularity contest, some people who are healthy will say, okay, no problem. And some people who may want to still persist on getting their request or their invitation done.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being okay with being unpopular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and it's an inside job,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. And one last thing I'll add to that, finding a reward for ourselves. The reward should not just be when I make someone happy or I acquiesce, that makes me feel good. But when I say yes to myself, even if it means I have to say no to someone else, I'm rewarded because. And when we start to track the rewards for those types of behavior, it will start to either balance out or in some instances eclipse the reward of giving ourselves away. It's all about feeling good and a reward. So we have to track and trace what the rewards are for saying yes to ourselves.
Thank you.
Yes, Rory says balance and self-care, and Vanessa says beautifully put. Yes. So with that said, are there any other questions? Last call. It's 1:29, and it looks like
Just one comment. The speed coaching is so good because
Yes.
it actually blesses other people, even though it may
Yes.
not be our specific question.
Yep.
So maybe just something to think about for future.
Yeah, more than
Yeah.
just think about it. Thank you, Laquana. Amber and I, because, we're talking multiple times throughout the week, are always looking to determine what we can be bringing to you all that is really relevant, right? We've come up with all of these topics. So that feedback is huge because we're coaches and we love to make sure that when you guys are spending an hour with us, we're not just kind of theoretically talking about topics. Yeah, we may even, right, Amber, we may even dedicate one of these to a speed coaching session. Let people come in and present something that they're grappling with, regardless of what it is, and we just dive in and support them.
Yeah.
We're all for it.
Yeah, and yes, we appreciate your feedback. We appreciate your recommendations, and so we do welcome you all to respond to the emails that we send out to you. We sent a survey out that we can send out again, but we are looking to get your interest in topics moving forward. So please do share with us. A session of speed coaching would be cool. Okay, good. We got some comments coming in. Some people have to hop off, and we know we're going over, so don't feel bad to hop off. We're going to actually wrap it up right now. We have one thing. Michele, are these some outgoing hand gestures I'm seeing? Yes, Michelle's a bit of outgoing as well, right? Yes, great. A half a session on boundary setting would be awesome. Thank you, Maya. Okay. Great, we'll take note on that. And we did get the recommendation for a vision boarding session, and we've taken that into consideration as well for a future webinar. So that will be really, really fun. All right. So thank you. It is 1:31. We enjoy doing this with you every Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we'll be joining to talk about the 4 agreements. So we've done a lot of professional development and professional growth in our last few calls. So we figured we'd focus on personal growth now. And the 4 agreements, amazing book. If you have not read it, it's something that we'll be discussing and that you may want to read. Just really foundational ways of overcoming challenges and tapping into your best self. So
it's by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yes.
If they want to know who the author is.
Yes, yes. And we actually have a little competition for next week. We have a little miniature book version of the 4 agreements. And for those of you who come and invite someone else, so you have to register and invite someone else to register. A male or a female, but we are trying to get some more males in here, and we're happy that we had our 3 guys with us today. So welcome, guys. But for those of you who register and invite someone else to register, that person can respond to their registration and say your name, and you will be entered for a chance to win the 4 Agreements book that we'll ship to you. So we'll say that again in the email as well, but I just want to mention that little contest that we're doing for next week. So with that said, thank you. I think that's all we have for you this week. Michele, is there anything else you want to say before we go?
No, this is it. If any of you have any questions, once you now go back to review your report that I can help clarify, by all means, send me an email, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to kind of spend some limited quality time with you, but to really kind of help you take the findings, make them relevant. So that's my gift.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And one more mention. I'm sorry. We do offer the replays. I'll put it in the chat. We offer the replays here at this link that I've put in the chat. If you want to check out any of our past sessions, you can do so there. And just another thank you to everyone who has donated to us. Again, we do this for free, and we're happy to do this so that we can provide value to everyone, no matter what is going on in life right now. So we welcome you to continue to join us. We do accept and receive donations. They're not necessary, but they're always appreciated. So to all of you who have donated, thank you very much. It really makes us smile when we see a little donation come through. You can also find that donation button on the link that I put in the chat, where you'll find the replays as well. All right. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll see you next Wednesday at 12:30 live. Bring a friend, okay? And get that book. We'll send it to you. All right.
Thank you. Bye, Amber. Bye, Michele.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.